Well, a local farm had their corn, peaches and cream corn, for sale this morning for $6 a dozen. So I got up and ran over and got in line and was able to get 6 dozen. So we're going to put this corn up today. I am going to share with you my favorite freezer corn recipe. Here we go. Okay, we hear you. So I ran and got those 6 dozen of these beautiful corn this morning, and so I am just going to shuck these up real quick, and then we are going to start on that freezer corn, and you are gonna, we hear you. You are gonna love this recipe. It is the best freezer corn that I've ever had. And this is going to be a creamy corn, and it's just delicious. You're going to love it. Stay tuned. Here we go. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Beth Morgan, the Poor Valley Princess, and as you can see, it is time to put up some corn here in rural Appalachia. Now, I've already got this corn shucked and silked and prepped and ready to go. You are going to love this freezer corn recipe. I actually received this recipe from my mother-in-law when I first came into the Morgan family about 30 years ago. And this is the recipe that I have used ever since because my family absolutely loves this recipe. So let's get started. Let's talk about the best way to get this corn off the cob, because this is our first step, getting the corn off the cob. Now, when I first got married, my father-in-law actually made me a device to help me get the corn off the cob quickly. It was a little piece of wood, and it had a nail that stuck up, and I would put the corn down on the nail, and then I had this other little contraption that he made that would slip around the top, and you would push down on it, and it would take all the kernels off of the cob at the same time. And that worked great for years and years. And then I found this little device from Pampered Chef, which just gets those kernels right off that cob so quick and easily. But I have found as I'm getting older, I have developed some arthritis in my hands. And for me to do 6 dozen corn this way, it's just not an option anymore. My hands and my fingers just ache by the time I'm finished. So I now use my handy dandy electric knife. And here's what I do. I just quickly go down each side, and then to scrape, to get the juices out, I'll go back over quickly with the Pampered Chef tool. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Watch this. Do 20 ears of corn so quickly that way, and you can see it still needs to be scraped, yes, but it is so much easier now for me to just take my Pampered Chef tool and do the scraping because the kernels are already off this cob, and my fingers are very thankful for that because they just ache. So if you are like me and you need a little bit simpler way, I suggest you try the electric knife. So this recipe calls for 20 ear. I am going to go ahead and get these 20 ear done, and then we'll go on from there. Okay, so all 20 cobs have now been done, and we have a lovely 9x13 pan full of corn cut off the cob and ready to be cooked. So let's get our ingredients together to make this cream corn in the oven, and I'll show you what to do next. All right, now that we've got our corn ready in our 9x13 pan, this is very simple. All you're gonna need is 1 tablespoon of salt, and let's sprinkle that all over the top. Then 1 stick of butter, Okay, that's half a cup of butter. What I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna cut it into these little pats, and I'm gonna try to evenly space the pats all along the top of my 9x13 pan to make sure that the butter is evenly distributed throughout the corn as it's cooking, because in just a second we're going to put this into a 350-degree oven and we're going to bake it for 35 minutes. And it's going to be so delicious. You're going to love this. So there we have our butter on and our salt on. And the very last step here is to take 1 pint of heavy cream. Okay, that's 2 cups. 1 pint of heavy cream. And we're just going to drizzle that all along the top of our 9x13 dish. And this corn is ready to be cooked. So I'm going to place this in my 350-degree oven for 35 minutes. Then we're going to get it out and let it cool. It's going to be so yummy. You're going to love this corn. While my first 20 ears of corn are in the oven baking, I went ahead and worked on my next 20, and I've got those ready to go in next. And while these are in, I'll work on the next 20. And I'll just keep that process going until all 6 dozen are processed, and then we'll get them ready for the freezer. My first batch is out of the oven, and you can see how creamy it is. Oh my goodness, I wish you could smell this. It smells delicious. So I'm just gonna give it a little stir, and then we're just gonna set this to the side and let it cool down. And when it cools enough, we'll put it in some freezer bags, flatten it out, put it in the freezer. It's gonna be great this winter. That smells delicious. You can see the corn stays firm, which is the way I like it. It doesn't get mushy. It stays firm in the cream. So we'll look at it a little closer when we're ready to put it in our freezer bags. All right, all my batches of corn are out of the oven, and I've let my first batch get cool enough that we are ready to get our freezer bags out. And I'm just using a quart size freezer bag here to fill up and put in the freezer. Here we go. I do like to use the double seal. So you can use whatever kind of freezer bag, or you might like using the freezer boxes. I know my mother always loved using the freezer boxes. And so I'm just going to fill this about a little over halfway up. Here's what I like to do. I zip it and leave a little bitty tiny spot, and then push out all the air as much as possible, okay? And then I'm gonna mash that flat and put my date on there with a Sharpie marker. And my freezer in this fridge has a little shelf in the top of the freezer where I can flash freeze things. So I will put these in, let them flash freeze so they get hard, and then I'll take them down to the big chest freezer for overwinter storage. All right, so let's get these bags filled up. While my last batch of corn is cooling off enough for me to get in the bags and into the freezer, I am going to take a little test of the corn to see how it turned out. That is such a delicious bite. When you cut this corn off the cob raw, you still have that crunch in the kernel, which I love. It just gives it a little bite, a little texture. And then the mixture of the salt with the butter and the heavy cream baked into that for 30 minutes. Oh my word, It is delicious. So if you've never tried a creamed corn like this style, or if you're just looking for something new to do this year, I encourage you to try this recipe. You are going to love it. If you do it this way, you will never have your corn fixed any other way. You will fall in love with it as I did. So thank you, Nana. Love this recipe. If you look in the description, you can see the entire recipe there. Also, if you would please like and subscribe to this video. Leave me a comment. That really helps with the algorithm if you'll just say something in the comments. And that helps that this video get out there to other people who might, hey, be interested in a good recipe for some creamed corn, some freezer corn. My name is Beth Morgan. I am the Poor Valley Princess, and I appreciate you coming along with me today. It's been fun putting this corn up, and I know you will love it too. Thanks a lot. See you next time.